Hello and welcome to yet another episode on SAP UI5 and JavaScript. So today, let me just show you one thing before I get started. So let me go to the web IDE. I want to show you how at the end of the day your project will look like once you learn everything. So let me just show you sort of, the thing that I'm involved in today for practicing. So this is my RAL login page, and I'm into my the usual thing that you had seen before as well. So and now coming to this, so this is the project that I'm in, and I'm trying to work my way out. And this is sort of multiple folder structures that you can see over here. And if I play it, so this is what you see. And in here, you have got a split screen where you have the master page and detail page, and this is where this part is empty. So if you click on it, then something would come and it will give you some more ideas about, that means the object page, the detail page. You can see that a detail about the product, and here you can see three icons where you have got information. So if you click on, let's say, angle grinder, you see the change over here as well. And so you can pass on more informations about the angle grinder that you want to buy. And then you have got the supplier's information in it. And in that you see there is a table that is present over here. And in this you have got some kind of a F4 help. So value help. And if you click it, a pop-up appears and you can select, right now it's California, and you can select Florida, and Florida is selected over here, and this is how you can change the things. So and you can again add more pages to it by clicking on this particular item, this particular row. I'm saying the first row. You can go ahead and get to another page. So this is how your app will look like. And you'd be able to make this kind of an app, and even better. So this is one type, and then I was also practicing another type over here, and that was the app view second. And if you play this one over here, it's the same type but in a different format. And here you see it's sort of a list report app, a work list app, I'm sorry. So here, if you click on any particular value, you're brought to the second page, and you can navigate back to the first one. And the same kind of a data is there in it. And at the bottom, you can see there are buttons over here. So this is how you can make an app, different kinds of apps, Fiori apps. So you see it's written UI5 training and all. So finally, we'll be doing these kind of a things uh, in our classes. So let's get started with our JavaScript. That's very, very important. Let me just show you in case you were thinking of how JavaScripts are involved in this kind of a thing. So you can see the function sort of a thing is written over here that I showed you in the JavaScript, although loops are not used over here in my coding. But then, mm, these are the same kind of stuffs are there, and the understanding of JavaScript is very, very important to actually um, actually make these front end apps. So so and you have got multiple pages inside it, as you can see that so many controllers are there, and how they're structured and how they're linked with each other. So we'll be learning about that as well. And rather, I will be learning everything regarding how to building an app, uh, web app. These are not native apps, these are web apps. That means an app that is placed on the web, not into your mobile phone. The way you can of course access it through your mobile phone, but it won't be native to your mobile phone. So you must be able to differentiate between, like for example, if you just type over here like Amazon. So you don't have to download Amazon to actually um, know about the products or buy anything. You see, so this is kind of a web app that you see on the Amazon website. Okay, so this is how apps are built. This is sort of a web app. This is not a native app. Now, coming back to our thing that I was talking about, like just canceling these things out, and we don't need Web IDE anymore right now because we are working on Visual Studio Code. So let me just bring you to the Visual Studio Code and then going to our first lesson. This is the one that we were in, and we saw that, and this is the one I use for practicing things before I come to the class, and this is the one that I was working on. So we were into this thing, so don't get confused. If you want me to delete this thing, I can delete it, no problem. So this is where we were the last time, and we saw how to make an array and how to access different elements, different items inside the array. And we saw that how to use the for loop and the other one that's called as for each, and there's the for loop that we have done over here, or rather we did in the last class. So I know this particular for loop is a bit complex one, but then not a problem if you keep on practicing it, because there are multiple layers to it, and like x dot length is over there. That might confuse you. Then index plus plus was written over there. There's another part of it that's confusing. And the way they're all structured in one particular. And of course, then you have got a for and then the bracket, and then you have got this kind of a thing, the curly braces. So that means that might also be a bit confusing for you. So not a problem, you'll learn everything, because if you see it's not necessary that you should learn everything right away, but you need to try to understand that why we use a for loop. And I told you that if you want to access each of the things dynamically and not like going one by one on it on your own. Like I said, that if you want to access Dan, then you can simply use, let me just show it to you. Let me just remove this part over here. And if I want to, let's say, access Dan, so I will say inside the square bracket, I put the index number of it, and it's at the 0th index. And if I run, so in order to run something, you need to come to this three dots over here, and this is called as overflow toolbar. And in that, because when the screen size is less, then it automatically compresses. So if you make the screen size bigger, all the details will come over here. So you come and now terminal and now go run, sorry, start debugging. And when you debug the whole thing, you see you get a Dan. So here the things you see that I'm putting the index number over here rather than putting the index number over here. You can use a for loop and it will automatically read all the indexes, rather indices over here, and get you the result, because I want to change the names and add s to it, and that we did in the last class, and the method that you saw was the for loop. And now since we have reached this point, now there is another thing that is called as an object. So let me delete this part over here and show you how objects are written. And this is very, very important, although you might not see the importance right away, but once you get a hang of these objects, then I will show you how these things could be very, very important to learning bigger things. So now let me place y over here, and let's an object. So you see I made a curly brace over here, so that has been an object. So anywhere where you see a curly brace, it's an object. Anywhere you see a curly brace, it's an object. And when I talk about an object means it has got values inside it. Okay, so let me just show you one thing. And what is an array? An array could be a collection of objects, or like, for example, let me just hang on for a minute or a second. And you see over here that we have got these values, Dan, Tan, Ran, and these things. Instead of this, you can have over here objects. Okay, and object 2. And then you can have object 3. So instead of having just one value over here, you can have a complete detail of the particular person, the second person's detail, the third person's detail. This is how you can have over here. So which is why we are learning object over here. So how do we represent that thing? The moment you see something like this, that means we have got inside an X, and that is placed in a variable. So you have got var x equals 3 objects inside it. And when you have got multiple objects or items inside something, we call that as an array. And let's go ahead and do our mm, make our object. So let me just write an object first. Here. Okay, so just the normal thing is that we spread it, and let me just align it also in the same line so that it should look beautiful. So alignment is very, very important. Now we can just keep on writing something like a name. Even if you don't pass this thing, doesn't matter. Name over here like this, okay? And you go on and pass the value for it, and I can say it as Dan. Okay, so name is Dan. So the same Dan over here, but I'm putting a property over here. You see the name property. Here it was only a specific Dan, but now since you have to pass multiple things inside a person's value, so a person's details, so you need to add different properties to it. So it's sort of a property value. And then you put a comma, and then so now let me just put it inside the quotations. And now I will write name and Dan, and then age. Then age will be my 39, and then although it's 46 right now, and then age, and then gender. Gender is like male, and what the heck was that? I did not pass the quotations. Now it's male, and then my salary. So these are details I'm passing for myself. And then salary is mm, let's take any number, 2000. Okay. And now you can see that for every detail I've passed, I put a comma, and at the last I did not put a comma, but this is how normally things are written. So this is my one object. So you can even work on objects. Suppose you don't have an array, but rather than you have got an object, so you can work on objects as well. So how you can access an object. So it's something like y dot name. You see, when I wrote y, it provided me with the thing. So there are no indexing in it because it's just one object. So you see, it's one object. So the point I'm trying to make is that if I put this whole thing, let's say over here in place of this thing, so this becomes my 0th index. Now let's say there's another set of data for man, and I put it over there, then becomes my 1. The first index, okay? 0th index and first index. So here we don't put index. Don't think this to be index 0, 1. There's just one record. It's not an index. So how you can access it now I was talking about, I can access it by just writing y dot, and you see the code completion of VS Code will tell me, like the moment I put a dot, it says, what do you want to access? Age, gender, name, or salary? I say I want to access age. And now how will I see that I got an age that is 39? So in order to see a result, you need to put that in a console.log and put this thing inside it. And now what you see, if you run and debug the whole thing, you will put the thing of a break. This is called a breakpoint. I told you you can put multiple breakpoints, as many as you want, but I want to put my breakpoint over here just to see whether y.age is giving me 39 or not. And of course it did give me. So let me just see it stopped over here. And now it hasn't read the code because I put the breakpoint over here. And after I move it one step, then it will give me the result. So I clicked over here and it got me the result 39. So this is how you can access age the way we were accessing different elements inside the array. Like, let me just put over here something that you saw earlier. This is my var x equals, and that's Dan, man, and that's tan. Three things were there. And now how could you access Dan? So you said that the access Dan, you do something x0. That's so this is how you can access Dan. If you want to access man, you do x1. You see, this is how you can access these data, x dot, no x dot, but rather x0, x1. This is how you can access it. Okay. Now coming over here, even over here, we can do something of that sort, but let me just finish this part over here. It's using the square brackets. Uh, and then I had a confusion, when the things were written in that way inside an object. So this way inside an object over here, and that confused me because I thought this particular, bracket is only used for accessing things inside the array. Now, let's clear the drawing, or rather leave it for a while. And let me just remove this part over here. And let's go ahead and do our things. So if you want to access like, if you want to access like, if you want to access like a y dot gender, so, and then you will get the answer is male. So let's go and run the code. And here you go, oh, okay, we already have it. Just refresh the thing and just move one step from here. We get an age 39 and gender is male. See that? This is how you can access. Is there any other way to access these gender? So let me just show you the other way to access it. That console.log, and you say x, and then you use the square bracket. Now you see, this is the thing I was talking about. In order to access gender in some other way, what I can do is that I can pass something like this inside it and say gender. And now if you try to access it, so it is specifically passing the attribute that's gender over here, the thing. So even if you there's nothing to understand in it, what you need to understand actually is that in array you put the numbers inside it, but when you want to access the values, one way is to do that like y dot name. So the name of the variable and dot name dot age dot gender dot salary, or you can say x, and instead of this gender, instead of like putting some 0 or 1 over here, you need to specifically pass the property that you want to know. So let's refresh the whole thing and let's see if we get male for this one. So the result that we are expecting is 39 and the gender male, and over here also the male. So if you go ahead and do that, you got a 39. Now the code is at the 10th line over here, and it will give you a male, and this one, whoops. And this thing gave me undefined. And why is that? It should not give me undefined. Okay, because I used X instead of Y over here, which is why it gave me undefined. So let me refresh the whole thing. So again, go ahead. Y dot gender are male and Y dot gender are male. So you see that? So there are two ways of doing that. Now, this is the thing I was talking about. Like the confusing part over here is this. So the normal, the general idea is that when you want to get the um, access any particular element inside an array. So whenever I say array, something like this. So when I say element means these items I'm talking about, these items, when somebody wants to access, then we use the name of the variable x, and inside that we pass the value like 0, 1, 2. So here we pass the index, okay, the one that we want to. Okay, so it's something like this. But here, in this case, that I learned quite late because maybe somehow I did not see it. And now, if you want to even access gender using the square bracket, what you need to do is that pass that in quotations and write the value, means the property name over here. I'm sorry, I said the value, the property name over here, like gender or age or salary, whatever you want to write. So this is the basic difference in how to accessing the two things. And remember, when these things come in a bigger context and these brackets are placed, then that will really confuse you at how things are actually being accessed. Okay, so now let me just delete it. So you saw how we can access these values. And can we change these values once we get these values? So let's see if you could change also. So let's first come to this thing and remove these. And let's say I accessed it. So let's say when I access the value y dot age, I put that in a variable var o value equals or rather s value. So you can write, I just wrote s value for certain reasons, but then it's not important for you to write s value. It's a good practice that I'm saying it's a string that I'm getting. So s over here stands for string. I can write q over here, a over here, anything of this sort over here, and still it will make sense. So this is my variable name. But the thing that I told you, that how would you know that this AGG, whatever things written over here stands for? So you have assigned this y dot h, and it's 39 to this particular value. Okay, so how will you know this stands for age or something? So you can even write something like age. So once I write age over there, then it will be confusing which age I'm talking about. This age over here, is this age, or is just kind of a variable that's holding and the value of y age, that is 39. So y dot age is this is 39. Okay, so that will be confusing. So which is why I am writing a string value. A value, okay? So now my string value is having a y dot age, and that's 39. And when I get that string value, I can add something to it. Let's say we can s value, and that's my 39. And then I say I want to add something. Let's say I want to add 40, a string, sorry, a number to it, and it's a string. So I remember I told you a string is a name. Actually, the value is not 39 over here. It's simply just a name, like a name given to anybody, number 39. Now if I put that thing in, if I console log this thing and try to see the result of it, like what do I get, then I might get a problem like this. You will see that. And then I go to age, and then I did not log this one, but it's showing me 39. I'm saying a string 39 plus 40, a number. So what if I add a string, and see, it just added 39 and 40 and just converted that into a string. So it is treating this also as a string. So a string added to a number actually gives you a string value like 3940, just a combination of the two. Rather than, if we really wanted to get the added value, so first we need to actually convert this string to a number. And we can say that pass int. So we can convert the whole thing into an integer. So now the string will be converted into an integer. So I've used a pass into it. And now this thing will become a 39 and a 40, and we will get a 79 as the answer. So if you refresh the whole thing, and now let's see, now you get a 79. What I did is that I converted this 39. I converted this 39 into string 39 into a number 39. How did I do that? So see, y dot h actually is giving me a 39. See how you can access y dot h. So it's giving me a 39, but this thing is giving me a string 39. So if there is a method that's called as pass int, so if you use pass int and with the value y dot age, so it will change this y dot age, that is this thing, into something that is called as 39. So now this thing actually becomes 39, and now it is saying add 40 to it, and which is why you're getting 79. The last time what actually it did, when we did not have this pass int before s value, and then what we got is a 39, a string plus a 40. So what it basically did is that it just added that as a string. Like, so for example, if you have got a string, let's say Dan, and another string that you want to add is man. So if you add Dan and man, what you get is Dan man. So you see the way it adds. So JavaScript actually treats the number when added to a string, it gives you a string, answer over here. Right now, one more thing, that if you're getting confused in case, like if I use y dot h to access it, you see y dot h to access h, that's 39, and then I pass that into another variable because I don't want to write y dot h. Let's say it became this bigger code, so I need to pass that into some kind of variables just to shorten it. So I shorten the whole y dot age into s value. So this s value actually is talking about this thing. I did not have done it. Rather, I could have directly used y dot age. Let me just show it to you so that you can understand in a better way. So instead of not using this s dot value, let me just comment this piece of code, and let me just grab this thing from here and copy it. And instead of passing s value over there, I can pass y dot age. So still, if you try to understand the intention, still it's so simple. And you see that this y dot age is this thing, and I'm accessing 39. So this is basically 39, and this 39 isn't, you see it's a string. You can see double quotes over there. This is what it is doing. And then using pass integer before 39 is like, like converting 39 into 39 and then adding 40 to it. So simple. Now, one more thing, I can even do it this way. Instead of doing console log, let me just cut it and paste console log over here and just adding something over here. Now you see, if you see the code, what I did is that I said pass integer, that means convert integer, convert this thing into integer, and convert what y dot age into integer, which is a string, and then add 40 to it, and then store that in a variable. So I can say var result. So this is my result. So what I did is that I used the whole thing and assigned it into the result. You see, I assigned this whole thing into the result variable, and now I can get result as my console log. So I want to see what value do I get for the result, and then if I refresh the whole thing, I will still get 79 as the answer. You see that? So I still get 79. So these are various ways you can actually handle things. So once you get a hang of it, you will understand that these things are really very easy to actually see. So this is how I handled this particular thing. And now let's so in this way you can handle you can handle the changes inside different things over here. So can you handle each of the things in a go? So you cannot run a loop on it because it's just one object. So inside one object you cannot run a loop. That means what if I dynamically want to get name and age and gender and salary? It's not possible inside an object. But if you put that object in an array, and then a lot of things are possible to access things dynamically. Now, let me just cut this part over here and cut it and paste it inside over in, instead of Dan. So you see my Dan now is has become something like this, name and those kind of a things. So you see I've got now I can even put the same thing for man, and then I will change the values man, and the same thing for tan, and same thing for ran. You see that? So now let me just use ChatGPT to arrange the things so that everything could be arranged in a straight way so that you can see that. Let me just use ChatGPT, come over here, and I can say that arrange each in one line. Now you see it's doing the thing for me and also providing the codes. So let me just grab this piece of code from here and come and just put the thing over here. Now you see how good it looks. So now since you see that this is my first data in one line, the second data in one line, and the third record or object in one line, and the fourth in one line, right? Now, the last time that you saw was something like this. Let me just delete this part. And this also. So if you see things like this is also a good way of looking at things inside a JSON structure that you'll be seeing shortly. Not today, maybe some other day, but there's one form of writing, a thing that's called as JSON, JSON, JSON. Okay, so now you see that you have got the objects in a vertical order, and many a times you will see things written this way, and it will be like very confusing for you to see like so many quotations and colon and commas and those things. So, but if you train your eyes to look at things in a holistic way, so you will see that I've got one record over here and the other record over here and the same over here. And that's packed inside something called as this. So instead of having one element inside it, we have got objects inside. You see the first object, my second object, my third object, my fourth object. So I missed it. So do not get confused. I didn't want to do that, repetition. So this is how you can look at it. So if you train your eyes looking at it, not like going line by line rather than, seeing things holistically, it will keep you always in a comfortable position. Okay. And you need to actually have, if you want to learn things faster, this holistic approach will help you a lot in seeing the things. So let me just delete the things for a while, means these drawing, and let me just arrange it the other way it was. What is the problem? Let me just take the thing from here. Now delete the drawing. So now you can see this is how it is. Now, what if I want to access each of the things, or I want to access, let's say, age over here. Okay, so how will we go? Now you see, since these are records, these are objects, so this will get again a 0th position. This is at my 0th position. This is at the first position, second position, and the third position. So my index is 0, 1, 2, and 3. This is what you get, right? So if you, let's say if you want to access Dan, so how will you access Dan? You will say x dot no. Let me just delete it, x, and then you need to pass this 0 over here because you say that I want to access the, the last time you did that, accessing the first object inside it. So you said x0 and you got the name Dan. Remember, var x equals, you had Dan and then man, double quotes or single quotes are the same thing. Okay, so how did you get Dan x0? Okay, so here I'm saying that I want to access 0th object. So that means it will give me everything over here. But if I say specifically I want to access name, so this is how I can get name inside it. So x0th index and the name inside it. So let's do it right away and see if we really get these things. So let's get our x dot, no dots, it should be 0th, or let's say not 0, but the third one. That means 0, 1, 2, 3 as the fourth object, but the third index. And then I can get the name, and you see the help is coming. You can get the name, and how will you see? Two ways you can put inside the whole thing inside a variable and say value, s value, and you just put it, and then you can console log, console log s value inside it. And now you will get the result. Let's check out, run and debug. And we don't have so terminal. So this part is called as a terminal. And always, so many times I do a mistake, I just keep over here and keep on, looking why the result is not coming, because the result is seen in the debug console. So just go to the debug console, and it says that your file is in C drive in the program files and Node.js, and this first lesson.js. Here we are right now, okay? And if you do that and you see, you get a Dan over here, all right? So this is how you can access the individual properties inside of a person. So let's delete it for a while now, and we don't want to access this thing. So let's say you want to access male, so you can just type male over here. So this gender, not male. I'm passing the value instead of the property. So you see that these things are called as property and property value. Property value or property value. Property. So each is a property, and then subsequently I've got values. Property and value. Property and value, property and value. See that? Okay, so now let's try to access some more things like so this is how you can access it. This is the most important thing that you have to remember, that this is how you can access any of the things. So what if I want to access all the names? Oh, we did not change the names now because the data look to be very similar. So what we'll do is that we're going to change the name to man, and then tan, and then ran. These are the names of my friend, and 39. make it 29, make it 49, make it 19, and then make it a female, and make this one also as a female. And the salary just adds a couple of numbers to each of the things. Let be like that only. So these are my change values now. Okay. Now let's do, can I access all the elements, all the objects, and do some changes inside it? So yeah, you can do that. And then the option is you have got for loop, you have got for each. So let's try to use the easier one first, and let's see that we can do that with it or not. And then how will we do that? Just come over here and say, we can. So once we change everything, we need to just put the whole thing inside a new array. So new var empty empty. Let's put an a to it and say empty, and then we'll push the changes inside it. So now we can say, so the idea is that we want to, what do we want to do? We want to change the age. We can change the age to, we can change the age to, or we have to do a common thing for everything first. What if we do, what if we get a salary? We can access the salary of Dan and just change that salary to 40,000. Okay. And how we can do that? So we can, so what's the need? The need is change Dan's salary to 40,000. Okay. This is what the, and later we'll do that. First, let's do that. So, and then we'll push the new array inside it. So, which is why I made an empty array where we're going to push the changes. So what we can do is for each, and just type for, and then for each, not for loop, we are going to use for each. So in order to use for each, you need to use the name of the array first, and then x dot for each. And this is how we do it. And then inside that, you pass a function. And function has got items inside it. Items inside it, and then your curly braces. And this is how it is. Now just remove this piece of thing from here so that things look simpler. So what we are saying is that if items equals a if my item is my 0th index, rather than I'll push index over here and pass index over here. Control C, because we are not looking for items or other indexes. So these are the indexes. Okay, is zero. So what do you want to access? We want to access salary. So we'll say that items dot salary and assign it 40,000, and 40,000 and this is what we want to do. And then else, if some other thing is coming, then do else and say over here also you can say array empty. In that, what you're going to do is that you can push items. You can push the item inside the array. Else simply put the items. Where is the push thing? Dot push what? Push items. Okay. And then what we can do is that we can console.log our empty array. So, and now let's put a debugger over here and let's rather here and refresh the whole thing. So it goes over there. And now you see it's index 0. So if 0 equals 0, then the code will go inside it and will try to access items.salary. So it will access salary 2000, and then it changes the thing into 40,000. You see the salary has become 40,000. And then it's going to push the result inside my empty array. So where is that empty array? And you see my new result is here. Salary is 40,000. Okay. Here you can actually access each of the things those are happening. And now, if second one, it goes for items. And now the index is my first index. So the code won't go inside it, rather it will just go and push the items inside the empty array. And then it will do the same thing. Now, every time it goes into the same thing. And at the end, you can console your result. And the problem is that we do not have a terminal open. So just refresh the whole thing. Remove the breakpoint from here and just step ahead. And now, where is the result? Are we not console.log array empty? So we should actually do that. Are we inside it? Yeah, we are. So why is it not giving me the result? Although it's giving the results over here, you can see that my salary has become 40,000. Rest of the things are the same. You see that? Here. So, but the problem is, why is it not? What is this over there? Okay, we were not in the debug console. I told you, see, we were in the terminal and we were expecting the result to come. And you see, my result is 40,000. So basically, what I'm actually trying to tell you is, remove these things now. What I'm trying to tell you is that I can use for each, and in that for each, I just access this salary and access the salary and change the salary into 20,000. I can even use an and over here. Before doing that, let me just explain the whole code to you so that you should be able to understand it. First thing, I have passed over here items and index. So what do you think? I can just put things the way I want to. So it is not like that. It is not like that. So whenever you use a for each function, whenever you use a for each loop, so I know that only 3 parameters could be passed inside it, and the first is the items. You can call it as A, and the other is B and C. Doesn't matter what you think of A, B, C, R, but the computer knows that the A will give you this thing. The B will give you the I, that means the index of each of the items. And the C will give you the whole array. Okay, so this is how it is working. The positions are fixed over here. And these are inbuilt parameters for each. And I know that, which is why I was able to put ABC over there. So instead of items, if I had put A, still it will consider the first parameter to be item. So what I'm basically trying to tell you is that my first parameter that I uh, put is an item A, which I call that as A. I can call it by any name. Again, I tell you that you need to put things like the way they should be understood. Otherwise, it might get confusing. If at all I put B over here, I will replace this by B. And for items, I will replace this as A, and still I will get the same result. So this was the catch over here. That is the first thing. And people who already have some understanding of JavaScript, so but not a full understanding of it. Neither do I. But then let's talk about certain things like no, there is another thing inside it. Let's say there is a function add, and then I am passing some parameters p1 and p2 parameters, and then I'm writing a function over here. So these parameters that I'm passing, these are my own made parameters. This is my own made function that I call as add. So it's different from for each. Those are built-in methods for doing something and which can take a function and where parameters could be added. But these parameters are my own parameters. Let me just show you this particular thing, what I'm saying about parameters, and then I will come back to these parameters and these codes. So just going to this part and commenting everything so that first I'll delete the drawing. Okay, I'm deleting the drawing, or rather commenting everything over here. And let's come over here and let's write a bit of a function that I'm talking about. So in JavaScript, you can just, how do you write a function? You write a function. So there's a keyword function. See, the color is blue. And then I'll say add. It's my own name that I'm saying add. I'm saying P1, a parameter 1, and P2, a parameter 2. And then a curly brace. These are functions are written. And then over here, return what? P1 plus P2. Okay. Now, when I call this function, I say add. So what basically I'm saying, call this thing add and pass the values 2 and 3 and give me the result. So I'm storing this thing inside a variable result. And then I want to console log. I want to console.log the result. When I do that, okay, now we run in debug and the result is 5. You can see over here. We got the result 5, and let me just tell you what exactly is happening over here. This function that I created is doing a job, okay? So in order to do the job, the job it is doing is that it is adding two numbers, right? But the numbers have not been specified. So what I did is that I made a placeholder. Okay. Now this placeholder will take the number when I make number. Okay. And then when I say add, so what basically I'm saying is that when I'm calling this add, I'm saying this, I'm calling this function that is called as add. So it is a name. So I'm calling somebody like you call a person by his name. I'm also calling this person, this person by his name, and his name is add. And the job also it has to do is to add, but add what? So you can add a 3 and a 5. So it takes, so when the function is called add, these parameters automatically take 3 as the first parameter, and the second parameter is 5. And then what it does is that it puts 3 over here, and here's the plus, and it adds 5 over here, and 5 plus 3 gives you 8. And then it returns the value. If it doesn't return, you won't get the answer over here in your, when you want to know, because it will just add it, but it won't give the answer to you unless you add a return to it. So just add a return. So when we do that, we get the result over here as 5. So, or rather 8, if the numbers are 3 and 5, 8. So what I did is that I got the result. Let's say we don't have these codes over here, these results and these things. So, but it did the job. But the problem is, how would I know that it did the job? I can either console.log what? This thing, add 2 or 3, or I can put the thing inside a variable result. Let me just delete it. Or I can put this thing, which has already done the addition, inside the variable result. It's easy for me. So you see what I'm saying? It's easy for me because add 2, 3 looks like, some very confusing thing. So rather just put that inside a result, say equals, and then put that inside a variable. You just can't write a result like this. You have to pass that into a variable. Okay. So this result can be console log now. So what I'm saying is that console dot log, and log what? Result. Instead of writing the whole thing over here, what I'm saying is that just console log the result, and it gave me the answer 5, right? So this is how you actually pass the parameters. So I passed a parameter P1. I could have passed something like, let me just show it to you. First, let me delete the drawing. Instead of writing these P1, P2, I can say param 1 and param 2. That is parameter 1 and parameter 2. And P1, P2 will become parameter 1 and parameter 2. Okay. And now I'll get the same result. So it doesn't matter what the name of the parameters are, but then you need to be sure that the first parameter is this one, the second parameter is this one. So it is in correspondence to each other. Okay. Now, coming back to our code. So these are my own built-in, these are my made parameters, and this is my own function. But in JavaScript, if you have certain inbuilt inbuilt things, those can be used. So let me just delete this part. Okay. Let's come back over here. Where is it now? And just uncomment the piece of code. And let me bring it closer so that it could be seen inside one screen. Okay, now you can see things inside one screen. Now you see that what I'm basically trying to do is, in this case, I want to access salary first and change the thing into 40,000 and then push this whole thing after changing, push this whole thing into it. Okay. And this if, because there's an if condition that says that if this thing comes, change the salary to 40,000 or else there is an else simply put it back inside it. Simply put it back, these things inside it, the second one and this one too inside it, right? So this is the idea. And what did I do over here? So you see that I used X for each function. This is how it's written. But you see, I've added two parameters over here, items and index. I could have, as I said, I could have written A and B instead of items and index and just did it that way. But, then again, A will make no sense for me. Another thing, whatever names I put over here, the positions, you see the first position over here is inbuilt for reading the items. That means the objects or whatever thing is there. So this is the first thing it will read. The whole thing it will read. The second thing will be this thing it is going to read. The items means these things now. So the items means the whole thing first because it is running in a loop. So it will read this one first, the second one after that. That means the code comes back and then reads it, comes back and then reads it. And this is how it's going to go. The second thing, that's my index. It's not only it reads the items, if I pass the index over here, it's also going to read the index. So it was reading the index before, but since I was not registering it, so I can't get it. So but the need was that I need to actually, how will I get to 2000? That was a real question. So I wanted to reach 2000. In order to do that, I want to have this thing, this item. So you will say, okay, you already have the items, so you could have done it. But the problem is that I wanted to compare it with yeah, I could have actually done that way. Instead of using the index, I could have compared it by saying if items, then what could I have compared it with? The problem is that, you see, items equals what then? Items equals my 0th index, you will say. But items cannot be, items means these things. 0th means the number that's given to it. These are two different properties. Items means this whole thing and zeros is a number. So you cannot compare item with the 0th number, okay? It has to be, of the same type. So which is why I use the index, okay? So I said index. So how did I add index over here? Because I knew that after the function, there are three inbuilt parameters, those could be added. The first thing is the items, which you generally use, and you don't need any other index unless there is a need for it. But if there's a need for it, the inbuilt thing that says that you can have index over here, and you can also have the array over here. Forget about the array because it might confuse, the array is there, and again, you're using the array. That's another part of the story. But let's understand, you can access these three things inside. Okay, so I chose the index because you need to compare it with the index over here, 0th index. You cannot just say items equal 0. They can't be compared. Okay, so which is why I put an index over here. So these are inbuilt parameters. This is the first thing that you need to keep in mind. Another thing that you see, there is an if and else statement I've used, if. So after an if, there is an else. Not necessarily. If you want to use else, you can use else. Let me just delete a bit. After if, you write something inside it, and then there is a curly brace. And the moment the curly brace ends, you write an else, and then another curly brace. So this is how it is. Every time it will be like that. If you want to use an else, otherwise you just leave the else. Because I wanted to use an else, which is why there was a need. because once the if is done, once the salary has been changed to 40,000, I wanted the whole list of things, the array inside my thing. Otherwise, I could just get only this, the first record, and that's done. But I wanted the whole bunch of my objects inside my new array. Okay, so this is how I handled it. Now you see I'm in the else, and it says that in the empty this thing is, I have written the name empty, doesn't mean it's empty when it got the first thing inside it. So it has become full with one object inside it. So at the beginning it was empty. So inside this empty, there's a method that's called as dot push, and push items, simply items, do nothing. That means just simply push it inside these arrays. That's it. And only for the first one, do certain things. So only for the first thing, you see these things are happening. Let me just delete it. Oh, delete it. Only for the first, you're writing this piece of code. And for rest of the code, just do it. Just simply push the items. Items means the whole thing, not the index, but the whole thing. Okay. Okay. So you got the point. Am I missing something over here? I don't think so. If you have questions, you can write in the in the chat box, or whatever you have, like in the comment section. And anything that specifically you want to know about it, you can just write that in the comment section, so that I can understand that whether you are understanding the things or not, or things are getting tough for you, or you need some more kind of suggestion or something like that. Just go ahead and do that. And I think I have done it, and you can try your own things. The first thing that you need to do is that just blindly write it, just keeping the things that is in the mind. Okay. Just copy it the way I'm doing it. Just copy it and do it. Do not use chat gpt for your works. Otherwise, it will create a big problem. What I'm saying, it will create a big problem, is that chat gpt is for those people who actually know all the coding, or who want to learn coding. Okay. So but then the problem is with the learning stuff. Okay. You need to be, suppose I know coding, and then I went to ChatGPT and I get a different answer. For me, it will be like a great help to see that, okay, the same thing could be done in a different way. So that will help me to do the things in a better way. For a starter, there is a caveat that if you end up using ChatGPT and maybe the results are coming for you, but then if you're happy with the results, then that's the biggest problem, because if you're only looking for the results, your code is running and you're happy, then you're missing a lot of things inside it. And I'm saying it from my experience. Do write every bit of it, of the things those are written over here. Otherwise, it will become really challenging for you to remember the things, because why I'm saying you have to write it and practice it. Suppose you practice the things, so the moment I write X for each, something like that, you say, oh, I know it. I know how things are written. So there is a kind of a syntax issue over here. The syntax is there, so you know it. And then if is there, and if this kind of a thing, and else, and this kind of a thing. At least you know these kind of a basic structure in which things fit in. So you don't have to focus on the way they are written, rather than you should focus on the codes that those are important inside it. And then suppose you don't know anything, then it will be like a big task. Every time X for each, what does it mean? What is the meaning of function? Why is there a bracket over here? Why something are in quotes? And many questions of that sort, and that will really slow down your effort. So go ahead and try to rather memorize every bit of it. Okay. Now, thanks for watching the video.